In this video, I'm going to show you how to categorize the transactions that you just downloaded from your bank account. So the first thing to note here is that by default, the system is going to automatically sort them by vendor. And the reason that it does this is that you'll find that most of your expenses from the same vendor usually go inside of the same category. And then along with that, we create something called category rules. And you'll see this here in a minute. But basically what it does is it says, hey, if something from comes in from AT&T, I want to automatically pre-categorize it into a given category. So let's actually do this one as a good example. So we're going to come here, we're going to click the Categorize button for this transaction. Now the next step is to choose what category we want to put it in. Well, in this particular case, I'm going to pick the phone, fax, internet category. Now here you have these blue links give you a few different options. If you needed to attach a receipt to it, you could do so here. If you wanted to link it to a given listing or a buyer, you could do that there, along with these other different options that you have here. The big thing I want to point out here is this auto select phone, fax, internet for new expenses that have the vendor AT&T. These are what we call vendor rules. This vendor rule means that whenever something comes in from AT&T, the system's going to automatically pre-categorize it under the phone, fax, internet category. I'm going to click save. Now, if you'll notice, that other transaction that I had here from AT&T is now pre-categorized under that phone, fax, internet. So that means every time that the system downloads a transaction that has the vendor AT&T, it's going to automatically select the category for me. So what this does is it essentially saves you a bunch of clicks, so that the idea being that when you log in every month or every quarter, however often that it is, it's going to automatically pre-categorize probably about 85 to 90% of your transactions. Especially the longer you use it, the more it's going to categorize because of the more of those rules that are going to get created. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and click the save button. Now, something else you can do here is a nice little trick is you can categorize a bunch of transactions at one time. So let's say that I wanted to do all these account maintenance fees. So there's a couple ways. I could either click on each one individually, or a nice shortcut is if I click the first one and then I hold down the shift button on my keyboard and click the last one, it selects everything in between. So it's a nice way, especially if you have a lot of transactions, it's an easy way to select a bunch of them at one time. So I'm going to go ahead and click the categorize button on any one of these ones that I highlighted. And it's going to ask me, are you sure you want to categorize all four? Yes, I do. And then let's say that I wanted to put that into miscellaneous bank fees. So I would select that. I can even here, if I want to put a note for all one of them, maybe I just wanted to put, bank fee or something like that. You could put whatever you want to, or you can do them individually if you wanted to call this, bank fee one, whatever note that you want to put in there. You don't need to put in a note if you don't want to, but there's an option to do so. So I'll click next. Now here, it's going to ask me if I want to create that same vendor categorization rule. So once again, do I automatically want to put anything that comes in with account maintenance fee under the miscellaneous bank fees category? And in this case, I do. So I'm going to click next. I'm going to ask me if I want to save all four. And there it goes, saved all four expenses. So that's basically how you go through and you categorize all of your expenses. Now, a couple of quick things I'll point out here too. If you have one that you don't need anymore, or say it was a personal expense and you don't need it, you just use this little trash can icon to delete it. And if you click it, it's going to ask you if it's okay to delete it. And now those transactions technically aren't completely deleted. They're just marked as deleted in our system. And you can always go back and show those by clicking the Show Deleted Transactions button. Another one are these little drop-down arrows next to the buttons. If you click the drop-down arrow, it will give you more options that you can do with that particular transaction. So here you see split between categories. For the most part, they're going to be pretty self-explanatory. You can kind of play around with those as you go along. Now, something else that I want to touch base on are what to do with particular types of transactions. Now, I'm going to talk about the three that typically confuse people the most. And I'm going to start by clicking on this help button. Now, the help button is also a great place. If you're ever lost or not sure what to do with the transaction or need help, click that help button. And in here, you're going to see, or at least you will soon see, a link here to watch this video again. And then also it talks about the three different types of transactions that typically confuse people the most. And those are personal expenses, transfers, and credit card payments. And the answer to what you do with them is basically the same for all three, and that is you delete them. First of all, personal expenses are not business expenses. RealtyZam was only designed to track your business expenses, so you're going to want to delete those. Now, transfers are just moving money back and forth, so it's not an actual income or an expense, so you can delete it. Credit card payments are another one. The reason you delete credit card payments is because they don't contain the financial detail that you need that gives you the breakdown of the vendor, the amount, and the date of the transaction. So those credit card payments, you're going to delete them, and what you're ultimately after is the detail from your credit card statement, or if you've linked your credit card account, those transactions will pull in. So you're going to delete all three of those. Okay, you should be ready to start categorizing your transactions.